Wake up, Adam, they are getting close.
I say, everybody gonna go underground now. I say, everybody gonna go underground.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. To get right into it, of course, the moment that Moscow is blitzed by a wave of kamikaze drones and huge Kiev revenge strikes as the conflict comes to Putin's door, or at least that's how they are putting it. Now, this is a huge escalation. Of course, now there are strikes in the heart of Moscow, just a few blocks away from Putin's palace. Whether this was actually UKR, whether it was a Russian group that doesn't like Vlad, or whether this was Vlad himself, this is definitely going down the path we thought it would, which is one step further and one more excuse to keep this thing going up and escalating. It's said that, of course, Moscow was blasted by a wave of kamikaze drone strikes today in a rare attack on the Russian capital. The attacks are believed to be the work of Kiev's forces after UKR vowed to respond to a barrage of unprecedented missile attacks in recent days. The problem is these were residential areas, or at least some of them were, and they say they were the rich luxury apartments, which is kind of crazy when you look at some of the pictures, if that's their rich luxury apartments for their oligarchs. But again, we'll show you all of that, and we'll talk about everything else that is going on. There's huge responses. NATO is preparing. It's very clear. So we'll go over that in just a second. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Everybody gonna go underground now. I say, everybody gonna go underground. I say, everybody gonna go underground.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a lot to go over in a short amount of time, so if you haven't already, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com, where you will find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. Now, when you go there, it's very easy to navigate. Just look for today's thumbnail. Of course, this is bad. They just hit inside of Russia, and you will actually find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to show you here today. On top of that, you're going to see a ton of extra news. There is a lot at the very bottom. That is all the stuff that could not fit into the show. Of course, it is all relegated down there for your use. Now, you can grab a second device and actually read along with us during the show, or you can go back retrospectively, or if you don't have time for the show, you can actually go and find all of the news in one spot. So make sure to utilize that. It is a lot of time before every single day's show, so make sure to use it. All right, let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So let's go back to this. So first of all, this is a huge escalation. This is something that obviously is going to look to the public and to the media that, you know, this is really bad. This is a strike inside of Russia, which we've expected since they started putting up air defense systems there. And we're like, well, why are they doing that? Because they probably suspected something like this, or that was the pre-setup for something like this if they were going to later then do something like this. This is something where if they strike inside of Russia, right next to the first drone hit right at the presidential palace or the presidential office. Now these other ones have hit residential areas, which gets everybody fired up, whether they be Russian or just in general a person. So this is a big deal. Dex, what do you think about them striking inside of right inside of the Capitol?
Well, we've seen them get close before, but not this close. And aside from the weird looking drone thing that happened over like the Capitol building or Senate building that was there, that by that flag that one time. So this is definitely a bigger escalation with the amount of drones that were launched, and the fact that the Kremlin is acknowledging this. Now, the flip side is they could be acknowledging this because it may not be true and it may be more of a setup. We don't know yet. I know UKR is not going to claim it. They don't claim anything that goes on the other side of the border. They always deny, even if they are part of it. But this is a big step in that escalation, and it's literally hitting, these areas and these locations that a lot of these, rich elites live in near Moscow, in the southwestern area of Moscow. So, and keep in mind though, for them to cry about having residential buildings hit, which by the way shouldn't happen. I mean, that should be off limits, but like, go look at Bakhmut or look at any of the other places in UKR. They've been demolished by lots of different areas. A lot of civilian locations, hospitals, apartment buildings, etc., have been completely, taken out or hit numerous times. So
But in their argument, in their defense, or in their argument, if you try to play devil's advocate, shouldn't those places be evacuated since they know that there's strikes coming? I guess there's no warning if you're in the capital of Russia. There's no, since even UKR is denying this, if you were in a residential area, you wouldn't know anything was coming. Whereas if you're in Bakhmut in a residential area, you kind of know by staying there you're at risk, since they've told you if you have to leave if you don't want to be hit by an airstrike, right?
Oh, sure, but there's plenty of other locations where there's people in Kiev get hit and buildings in Kiev are getting hit. Where people live. So, I mean, what are they going to do? The whole country's going to pick up and move until the conflict's over. So, yeah, people live in their homes, and that's, where they have to stay. So, unfortunately, this happens in all conflicts. Civilian casualties and civilian infrastructure getting hit like that is, it does happen. It's obviously something that shouldn't happen.
And do you want to talk about the next piece by the Daily Mail? War comes to Putin's doorstep. Wealthy Moscow region is hit. So specifically, some of the areas that were hit were luxury condos, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of pictures in this that we can show. You can see where some of the, sides of these apartments were. You can see what looks like an impact zone, what looks like a lot of broken glass and things that have been hit. But they're again, it's also not like these massively large, explosions in the sense that they've taken out things. There were also some scenes of what you would call a mushroom cloud, but not a massive size one, but definitely one that stood out to people when they saw that. It's like, wow, that's happening just outside of Moscow. So to the civilians around there, this is a wake-up call for sure when there's this many happening all at once. There, if this is orchestrated by one side for Ganda, then that's one avenue. And if this is actually happening from UKR, then this is a big wake-up call probably for a lot of the citizens in the Moscow area that thought, hey, we really weren't in harm's way.
I apologize, but some of these so why would you even do this? So this one I guess that's a bigger blast, right? But it looks like, some of them, like this one up here. How did this one window break? There's no black. Did the drone actually go through the window then blow up? Or did it blow up outside of it and it just happened to break only this window? These are not massive explosions, but we don't know exactly how many of these there were. It just seems like something maybe a couple of people would do, or maybe a small group. This doesn't look like a military strike, right? And maybe that was the intention. Maybe it was supposed to have some plausible deniability, and it was, some sort of 3-letter agency had 3 or 4 guys flying some drones, and they blew up some stuff. This isn't gonna make a dent in Russia, right? But it does make this huge point that Russia is actually getting attacked inside of its capital. This is something that is a really big escalation. Some people would look at this and go, well, that's nothing. But what if the drone actually went inside with a family inside and went boom and everybody perished? That would be a different story. But we still don't know exactly, what it was. A lot of people were running, supposedly. There's pictures and videos of that. At this point in 2023, we don't know what is real with all of the deep fakes and computer edited videos that are out there. And of course, the level of propaganda and lies that we hear on a daily basis, we don't know exactly what to believe. So I guess my opinion on this is that just look at what is happening and look at the common sense kind of pattern of what is happening here. It is history repeating itself. If you ever looked heavily into what happened before World War II, this is history repeating itself. This looks like the setup for World War III. And everybody is so afraid of those words, but at one point you have to realize there's going to be these events and these political events and these tit for tats that all lead up to something bigger, and then it triggers the big, all out conflict between people. Remember, they don't care about lives. There are people at the very top that would much rather that hundreds of thousands, even millions, were no longer here on Earth. So if you think they wouldn't want that much loss of life, a World War III, please. They are actively trying everything they can to reduce how many people are here. So I personally think that they're not against this at all. And then people say, oh, well, why would they spend all this money on infrastructure in different places and then destroy it? The thing is if you're looking at the big corporate level and the corporations that are running the planet right now, if it's broken down and destroyed, then they get paid to build it up again. And they've got deals with the people that build it. So if they spend billions of dollars to make it, and especially if it's taxpayer dollars anywhere in the world, taxpayer dollars to build an infrastructure, then it's destroyed by an outside force or an act of God, then they get to build it again. And the same company that built it the first time gets to build it again for other taxpayer dollars. So just think about that when you think of that. All right, and then Russia threatens to launch tactical nukes in response to UKR drone blitz on Moscow as rattled Vlad breaks silence. So, Dex, do you want to talk about some of the things that were said here? And again, I just did a short video over on news. If you want to go over there and check that out as well, make sure to share that out with friends and family. It's shorter, so you can get it out to many people. Go ahead, Dex.
So the one of the things that came out of this was one of the members of parliament had come out, and the MP Oleg Nilov, and he quote unquote said Moscow was subject to a drone attack by the UKR state. And then he also said our response can be made from all available options of the armed forces. Tactical nuclear weapons won't stay shelved for too long. In other words, hinting that they're going to use that. Now, also in this article is a map that kind of shows you some of the locations. And mind you, this may look like it's pretty far, but the scale on that you can see the 3 mile marker on there to understand how close a lot of these are. They're pretty much within 6 to 10 miles of each other. And all of this is just on the outside of what you would probably consider the suburby area of, say, Moscow on the south western side of the city. And this, you can also see where Putin's palace is and how two of the actual locations there were pretty close to 2 of those red areas that were hit were really close to his palace. So again, big eye opener, not only for the civilians there and the citizens of Russia, but definitely for the rest of the government, so to speak, or the rest of the members of parliament, the other talking heads, and then obviously Putin from his point of view of this happening within their within their city, within Moscow.
And I don't know if these are supposed to be representations of like predators or reapers or even maybe the smaller ones, but the explosions don't even look like they are these kind of the launched wing drones. These look like smaller, like DJI drone boom booms, because if they packed enough explosions on them to make that big, a 10-foot kind of circle, even these would have been able to pack a bigger punch than that. I wonder what kind of drones they say are used. There hasn't been any info on that yet. And then EU blasts Poland over Russian interference law. The EU indicated that it may take legal action against a law in Poland designed to investigate Russian influence in Polish politics, but which could ban opposition figures from holding public office. The EU joined a chorus of criticism, including from the U.S. and the Polish opposition, in saying that the ruling right-wing Law and Justice PIS party could use the law to intimidate political rivals ahead of an election later this year that is slated to be narrow. It says, quote, "I can assure you that we will not hesitate to take immediate action as necessary when we see that there is space and need for such an action." The Commission's Vice President for Values and Transparency, Vera Jourova, said during a press conference on Tuesday. The Czech politician raised the issue on the sidelines of an EU ministerial meeting in Brussels, focused on an ongoing legal proceedings against Poland and Hungary over alleged rule of law breaches. So, and again, it says Brussels and Warsaw have repeatedly clashed on democratic principles, with the European Commission blocking millions in EU recovery cash over concerns that the Polish government is clamping down on the independence of courts. Although the Polish government defended the controversial law as an attempt to root out the Kremlin's agents in the country, critics warned that it may be used as a political weapon. So this is another kind of... it's like now anything that could be considered Russian or red. I mean, does this kind of sound familiar? It's kind of like, oh, they might be Russian, or this kind of push against, right? It says the law would create a commission that could ban people found to have been acting under the influence of the Kremlin from jobs involving the spending of public funds for over a decade, in effect, preventing them from running for office. So, and by the way, that's a good thing if they actually keep the Kremlin out, but you could actually say, well, that person's a Russian agent, or they're a Russian opposition, or they're a Russian spy. They could essentially accuse anybody of being a Russian spy or a Russian bot, if you know what I mean. It's kind of like what did they call that back in the day, Dex? The Red Scare? What is it?
McCarthyism.
McCarthyism. So that was when they essentially were afraid of anything that was potentially Russian, right?
Yeah, anything commie or social at the time, socialist at the time, they were trying to root out.
So I'd love to hear what your opinion on this is. Let me know in the comments or in the chat below. Speaking of which, I wanted to say hi to everybody. Thank you, everybody that has made it today. And it looks like we have a lot of really great people here. Let's see here. Although, I don't know why. Oh, there we go. We have John Z. Let's see here. And let me try to blow this up here. No pun intended. Poco Loco, Kelly2334, Ray the Way. Hey, it's nice to see you. Fuzzy Logic. Let's see here. See Here Think. Dependable Kit. Hey, says something, Marf. We need another Red Scare. Too many. It skipped too fast. Dang it. Kenny Dean, Fort William, Texas, Papa Two Bears, howdy folks. Yeah, the Salem witch hunt, how that worked was something too crazy. And then the Forgiven Wretch, what up guys? Carol, we got Randy Man, Jeremy Perry, Sup Marf and Dex, and we have John Z, thank you, Rick Med 24, Lisa Dabney, a lot of new names. Let's see here. Wide Awake and Angry, hey, how are you doing? So it says, what's up with chat? Grr. I don't know if people are having problems, but over the last month, there's been a lot of problems, and I think it's because of all of the new things that YouTube is adding. Ilea and mods, other mods. Ilea, by the way, thank you for being here. Mods have even noticed it. People have had many problems with their chat. If you do have something, make sure you have the most updated app as far as YouTube goes. That's one thing we've noticed that helps. And then make sure that if you don't want to update, then exit out and go back in, or try a different device or a different TV. Usually the TVs don't have any problems because they don't require you to have the latest firmware. Some of them do, but some of the smart TVs with YouTube, you can just, say, well, they have a hard time with Marfoogle News. If you do the voice, it'll give you some pretty funny responses. But if you do put it into your TV, then you have a better luck there. And then Jammer 1, Arizona Raven. Thank you, Jammer, for modding. Do we have Chance here? By the way, guys, make sure to go check out Chance over on marfooglenews.com/friends. Check out all of the mods channels. And if we can, let's drop an M in the chat for the mods. They've been keeping it peaceful down there. Make sure to keep it respectful and be nice to each other. We want it to be a relaxed space so everybody can hang out and share their thoughts. Let's see here. And then Germany and Poland tighten migrant route border checks. So everything is pointing towards something popping off with Poland. And of course, either or the Finnish border now. But Poland, it's heavily preparing all sorts of things and changing the way they do things. NATO is changing all of their subset rules regarding Finland and Poland and these different places. Dex, what are they doing with the migrant route? They're essentially they're clamping down and doing more checks, right?
Right. They used to do spot checks, and they weren't very thorough with their border checks with migrants coming through, and now they're talking about amping it up, and they're amping it up specifically because of the conflict and because of the threat that may be coming from that. So we see both Germany and Poland talking about this, and we'll talk a little bit more about Poland specifically and what other things they've done. They've been doing quite a bit, but even seeing Germany getting involved in this, and this is the type of action you start to see as the throes of conflict start to get closer. You start to worry about specific things like migration, who's coming across. Do you seal up your borders, or how do you protect from that? And it's not to say that migrants themselves are bad and that they're invading, but it's that fact that you could have adversaries use those holes to get through. And that's, I think, what we're starting to see is a lot of that. It started a little bit last year, but we're seeing a lot more of it now. It's ramping up significantly across the NATO members, so to speak, in Europe. So I think we'll start to see more of this, but and we're going to talk a little bit more about what Poland specifically has been doing with their border in just a moment.
Now, let me ask some of you from Europe, if you are watching from Europe, if you can let me know. So one thing that's being said is that it is being harder. It's harder to travel in Europe now. Part of, some of the Brexit stuff falls into this, and I have never been to Europe, so I cannot speak on this. But I would love for some folks in Europe. Is it getting harder to travel around and to just go as you wish from country to country? Or has there always been really strict things going about that? Some folks have been telling me that it's getting harder to travel, and they believe it's part of the kind of coming agendas to keep us clamped down and to stop traveling so much, right? To minimize our footprint. As far as that goes, have you heard anything or seen anything or experienced something that would tell you that they're clamping down on, cross country or cross countries travel, especially in Europe? How is that? Please tell me in the chat below. I know we've got plenty of European viewers here, so let me know. And then we'll talk about the Polish border here in a second. Before we do, make sure to go over and check out an EMP Shield. This is a device that can protect your car and keep your car or your truck or your RV, van, or even your generators, keep them running after an EMP or an electromagnetic pulse. If you haven't seen these before, this is a device that you can wire into any one of these things. In fact, they have all sorts of different devices, from solar to, of course, boats, to even generator and solar generator protection. In the case of the Flex 1500 from Energy, you can actually get an EMP shield for that. This is the same company that has outfitted DHS, DOD, and now they're helping officially on the DEMSO team, helping protect the Texas grid. This device grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry any one of these items. So if you put this on and wire it in, again, it can be done in less than 10 minutes for the car or truck versions. It will then protect you and keep you driving. If you need to get home or if you work far from work, that would be a good thing to have. Or if you have multiple family members, multiple cars, and you have a plan to get out of there, then I would definitely hope that you have something like this on there. This has a triple use. It's, of course, good for EMP. It's also good for CME, a coronal mass ejection from the sun. That is something that is a guaranteed. It's just a matter of if our technology catches up with what is going on. If we harden our grid, then this wouldn't be such an issue. But right now, we are so vulnerable that our last president actually signed an executive order that immediately went in and tried to harden the grid. Now, for whatever reason, the newest president has not been enforcing it. He has not undone the executive order. It's still in place, but essentially what they've done is they have not pushed the gas on the pedal. So nothing is moving fast, and we are nowhere near essentially having a hardened grid. A hardened grid would mean that everybody would be good, but no. Instead, they are protecting their own selves. They're protecting military bases and things like this. They're protecting government buildings. But as we've seen in Hurricane Katrina, no one is going to come and save you. People will end up going, if stuff really does hit the fan, they'll essentially go help their own families. So, yeah, it's a good thing that if our government and our military is running, but if we've actually seen real use where everything falls apart like Hurricane Katrina, it didn't work out too well. Especially anybody who lived through that and lived through Marshall, then they know. So if you do want to protect yourself, be able to get out, make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You will save $50 per device, and you will actually get an extra savings because right now I believe they should still have their Memorial Day sale. Make sure to check for current because you might be watching this as a replay. Go over and check it out. You're also supporting us. We're independent. We're on our own. And all we have is you guys. So thank you so much. Speaking of which, so make sure to get in on that. That's an extra 10% off on the Memorial Day sale. The third reason that it protects is from lightning, just to let you know. And you can look at that at marfooglenews.com/EMP. All right. And then Poland buys 800 Hellfire missiles to arm its new attack helicopters. So that is a pretty massive order, and these things are insane. One of my side dreams is to ride in one of these kind of Apache type helicopters, or I guess I don't know if is this an Apache? Would you consider this? This says it is a. Yeah, that's a AH-64E Apache helicopter. This thing is absolutely a monster. Could you imagine riding in one of those things? Of course, very unlikely that any civilian will ever step foot in one of these things. That thing is just savage. But those are the Hellfire missiles pictured. And from what I know from stupid video games is they are nothing to mess with. So why are they preparing? Why are they buying all of this? Well, in my opinion, it's because they're getting ready for a conflict. The Polish government has signed a deal to purchase 800 Hellfire 2 missiles that are to be carried by a new fleet of attack helicopters, with a request to buy Boeing AH-64E Apaches still in the pipeline. The contract for the sale of the missiles, which is manufactured by Lockheed Martin, was inked by the ministry's armament agency and the United States Army Security Assistance Command, or the USAC. The deal is worth about $150 million, according to officials. Deliveries are slated to begin this year and stretch through 2029. So it isn't something that's instant. And one thing you could also say is all of this stuff where Poland and all of these other countries essentially gave all of their hand-me-down stuff to Ukraine, you could say they did that so then they could go, oh, well, we need to buy this. Then they use taxpayer dollars to go buy that, and they get brand new big stuff, and the military-industrial complex makes a whole lot of money. Dex, do you want to talk about the sanctions and the Belarusians and bans that are going on?
Okay, so there's been a bit of an uproar between Poland and Belarus, specifically around some of the stuff that's going on with the the reporters there. But what they have done is they've actually now sanctioned. Poland has sanctioned 365 Belarusian individuals, including Alexander Lukashenko's son, and 20 companies in response to the decision of Belarus's Supreme Court to uphold an 8-year prison sentence given to a leading figure in from the Polish minority. So this is a bit of the back and forth that's going on, and also in there they have stopped and they've banned Belarusian and Russian trucks from entering Polish territory at the border. So this will prevent any of those trucks that are owned by Russia and Belarus that are doing transportation from being able to be used into Poland. Now, other trucks presumably could go through if they're just not owned by Belarus or Russia. So this is specifically targeted at them. It's one of the many things that they've done specifically to the border, and now sanctioning these different individuals and these different companies out of Belarus, and presumably some tied to Russia as well. So the it's clear that the things are ramping up. This is what we talked about a little bit earlier with some of the other stuff with Poland. Poland is the country to watch because they are sort of the bullseye when it comes to NATO from Russia's point of view. Like we've heard them talk over and over again how they would want to go after Poland. I basically put a target on them outside of Moldova, but I don't think Moldova is a big win for them. It's more Poland being the big target to if things kick off. So as we watch them, Poland specifically, that's what we should be paying attention to is what actions are being taken. They put out the anti-tank border all up and down the Polish border. They brought in the Patriot missiles a while back. They've had them in there for quite a while now because they were getting prepared. They don't do all this without preparing for. They're not doing this just for fun. They know something's coming. They're trying to buy all those missiles we just talked about. They're trying to get new Apache helicopters. They already got another helicopter order that goes along with those missiles that's actually being delivered this year. So they're getting them, which is why they're trying to get the missiles right away to get those lined up. Not the Apaches, but the other helicopters. I think they're Italian. So lots of things are happening right now in Poland. We got to pay attention to them because I think it gives us the clear indication of where we think or when we think this is going to ramp up from a Russia versus the West or Russia versus NATO conflict, as opposed to just a UKR conflict.
And just to show you what we're talking about with the dragon teeth, and these are several different kind of iterations here. This is the dragon's teeth kind of thing. I can't find, for whatever reason, the temporary ones. They're these white concrete kind of bricks. And what was really surprising is how fast they had put them up. Now, there was some stories. If I go to the news of it, you'll actually see the pictures that they probably use here. And Putin is doing it too. I mean, they're putting these up, and they're digging 600-mile trenches alongside of Russia's border. I mean, this is huge. This is, of course, something that they do right before a massive conflict. Now, they say that this is because of the entire, huge counterattack that they're going to do. But we haven't exactly seen all of that yet. So that we haven't even seen the real conflict yet. And then Poland also invests, mind you, this is all in just, 1 week that we have seen all of these actions from Poland. Poland is obviously, there's wheels turning and of course the cogs are turning in Poland. Says that Poland invests in early warning with 2 Swedish planes, eyes aerostats. Poland plans to purchase at least 2 Swedish early warning aircraft to complement additional tethered warning systems, but they are perhaps not the planes some observers had been expecting. Early last week, Poland's Defense Minister Mariusz Błaszczak announced that he and his Swedish counterpart Pal Johnson had been in discussion, and Warsaw was very advanced in acquiring early warning aircraft from Sweden. Says, quote, "We are already conducting detailed negotiations," he said. "I hope they will be successful in the short term." Well, these early warning systems are essentially to be able to, see things before they happen. And it says, rumor had it at the time that the deal would be for the Swedish manufacturer Saab's brand new Global Eye Airborne Early Warning and Control, an AEW&C, which is based on a Bombardier Global 6500 long-range business jet and consists of a modern suite of sensors using Saab's Eye extended range radar and mission system. But days later, on May 25th, the spokesman of a Polish armament agency, Lieutenant Colonel Krzysztof Platek, ended early speculation and announced on social media that his agency is in the talks to acquire 2 Saab 340 AEW&Cs for the Polish Armed Forces in connection with the offer from the Swedish side, which is in the short term will ensure the ability to early detect and warning about air threats. So they're expecting something to go on. Of course, this is all in order. They are trying to look out for things coming over their border, missiles, whatever it may be, airborne threats, or even planes, jets, whatever else. And then Russian naval ships hunt down enemy submarines in Arctic drills. Dex, I gave my opinion over on TV, our other channel, but do you want to give your opinion on the naval ships and the drills?
So most specifically, what they've done here, and I think what we should pay attention to is the fact that they're hunting submarines, and they were doing a drill specifically finding and targeting a submarine and taking it out underwater. And that's the drill they were doing. Now, these drills have been going on, at least the ones we'll talk about in a moment with in Finland have been ongoing. And of course, Russia's always doing some sort of drills, but it's more specific when we see the types of actions they're doing. There's one thing that everybody's been waiting for, and that is the testing of that Poseidon. And we think they tried it back last year and it failed. At least that's what some of the intelligence agencies are saying. That could just be hogwash and who knows. But, in this specific one, this is coming out of TASS. This is coming out of, Russian Ganda pieces or official mouthpieces, however you want to refer to it. But they're talking about the fact that they were doing these drills and they were specifically going after subs and doing sub hunting simulations. So they did target a simulated specific sub underwater and, of course, said that they passed successfully, taking it out and destroying it as they were planning to do.
So there's a lot of moving parts right now. First of all, real quick, I do want to say thank you to Kelly Z3CD. Thank you so much. Thank you for new members. I appreciate you. Wizlore Jalapeno, T Palomino. Let's see here. Thank you for everybody that has gotten in on the first month of members. Again, this is a new thing. We waited forever to get approved for it. And again, thank you for Salubrious Farm. Salubrious, I think that is. Salubrious Farm, thank you for joining and getting a Marfia badge. Zenwen AZ, again, yesterday, thank you so much. Thank you for grabbing a Marfia badge. David Reed and Laura Reed, thank you for getting a Marfia badge. Disaster Prediction, Temple Chris, Reds Homestead, Articuno, Mir 504, and the Bones and Tub Show. Over the last week, thank you, everybody. And then Starshine, David Bruton, and Stormblade X69. Thank you, guys. That does go towards our channel, and it helps us. Again, thank you, and thank you. And then as far as supers go, thank you, Stephanie Cook. I appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Heath Spear. Let's see here. Heath Spear, thank you for the cup of coffee from Australia, it looks like. Thank you, Heath. Stephanie Cook, Kurt Swenson, Zen1AZ, Ilea, Jane from Tennessee, thank you for the super. Be Real Beast, Sweatin' of Ministries, Joseph Newhouse, Kush Monster, Abide, After Shadow, Bible Talk, and A Shell, and Mimi Kurtzel. Lots of new names too. Thank you guys for spreading our show out. Thank you for sharing us. Make sure to share us anywhere you can. It's you always hear YouTubers complaining about the algorithm. Really, it's up to us. We're an independent show. Everybody that comes here has been here for a long time, or if they're new, they've found us through a friend. So you guys are the only way that this really gets spread. We don't get viral videos. We can't get viral. So for the way that we get somewhat viral is if you guys share us out, and they can't stop sharing. So that's one thing that if you really do feel that our show is of any value, make sure to share our stuff out. That would be really appreciated. And bring some new people in and just say it's a fun thing to do after work. Come and hear about all of the current events. Another way you can help if you do want to actually set yourself up at the same time is go over and try to go look into the Energy solar generators. This is the system, and I have tried now 5 different kinds. By far, and I tried its closest competitor, which I won't. I think that there's a lot of great systems out there. This one has some of the most advantages I've ever seen in a solar generator because this one can actually do stacks of 5 batteries, and you can actually expand it up to 96 batteries all in one stack without any external cords. Other than that, it pretty much matches all of the different kind of features that you could get in any of the huge name systems out there. Now, Energy is such a high quality project that the actual Air Force and the Air Force Research Laboratory teamed up with them to build the Energy Flex Tactical. Now, this is probably overkill for most, but some people, this will actually be the one go-to unit for them, depending on where they live. Say if you lived in Alaska, this would be a really good one because it does have a built-in heater for extreme cold temperatures. It also has water resistance and dust resistance. Most people, though, will definitely go for the Flex 1500. It works like Legos. Each battery can be stacked, and the input and the output is on the top and the bottom. And this is a solar generator, so it gets its power. You can plug it in either into the wall like a battery bank and charge it from your wall very fast. You can charge it from your car, or you can charge it from the sun. Now, when you get a package, most people consider a package with solar panels. You need solar panels if you're going to get a solar generator. You could use it as a battery bank, but I'd highly recommend getting their foldable panels because these can be taken. You can actually carry them. They have handles. You can essentially, I can carry 4 panels alongside, say, 2 batteries in the unit, and I could actually get somewhere. That's a huge deal. Make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/energy. Not only will you get a discount on it, this will save your butt. Even if you don't have an SHTF situation or an end of the world situation, everybody is going to have at some point their power go out. This being able to not have to go to a hotel or to a friend's house or just sit in candlelight for 40, 80 hours, 10 days in California, you can actually power everything with this. And as long as the sun comes up the next day, you can then replenish that power. It is almost absolutely silent, which means it's stealth, and that means you're not going to be heard from 3 blocks away as the one person in the neighborhood with power. And you can use it inside. There's no harmful gases that are coming off of this. Speaking of which, you don't have to buy $5 a gallon gas. This is a really good thing. I believe that most people that get this are not only going to help support us, but they're going to end up help supporting their own supplies, and this is going to save their butts. And they will thank us because this is one of the highest quality units out there, and the main reason why you want to go with the really good one is you don't want it failing on you if SHTF really does happen. Even if it doesn't, during storms, whatever else it may be, this is great. You can even use it for fun, use it for your tools, bring it to work. It's a great, great unit. So go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle, MARFOOGLE. All right, thank you guys in advance. And again, I think most of you will say that this is absolutely awesome. All right, and then NATO launches Arctic maneuvers, vowing to protect its newest member, Finland. Lots of cogs spinning right now. It says that NATO countries are in the middle of Arctic military maneuvers, vowing on Tuesday to defend their newest member, Finland, which is hosting its first joint NATO exercise since becoming the 31st member of the Western Alliance in April. The addition of Finland doubles the length of the border, and I think it's almost 700 more miles of border alongside of Russia. And it says that NATO shares with Russia, which launched a large-scale invasion of another neighbor, UKR, in February of last year. Nearly 1,000 allied forces from the United States, Britain, and Norway, and also from neighboring Sweden, joined some 6,500 Finnish troops and some 1,000 vehicles for the Northern Forest exercise, Finland's biggest modern-time land force drill above the Arctic Circle. Russia's invasion of UKR convinced Sweden and Finland last year to ditch long-held policies of military non-alignment and seek security of NATO's collective defense commitment. Now, you always wonder what actually happened in these meetings that made them switch. These are historically, or at least for the however long, they have been neutral. They have not gotten involved. They've stayed on their own. They said, you guys handle your own stuff. What was the thing that actually triggered them? Was it mainstream news of all of this, or do they actually know something or may know a longer-term plan? My opinion is Swedish elites and Finnish elites are in the same meetings with the Davos and the Bergs and all of this. Dex, what do you think about this newest drill? We follow all of these, but this seems like a pretty big one to not.
Yeah, it is pretty big, and it's also really quick for this new member to jump right in and be hosting a drill. Obviously, it's important for us, or for NATO really, to show the strength, I guess, against Russia with Finland now that it's there. That's a huge border across, the north western portion of Russia. It's a huge border that they share. So I think it's also interesting, though. I don't know exactly what the decisions, why they made the choice to drop from being independent, other than the fact that they sort of looked and said, hey, they were willing to go into that country and they weren't a NATO member, and nobody's there to really support them, or they are, but nobody's, it's just funds and weapons. It's not troops and an alliance of all of these countries behind it. And they must have thought to themselves that, hey, we're at risk, and they had to pick a side, I guess. And Lukashenko picked his side, and Finland chose their side, and NATO's side. So I think that it really came down to, at this point, being independent and sitting on the border is right in the middle of where everything seems to be headed. Probably not a good position to be in. You probably want to be on one side or the other. But yes, this is a big drill. Thousands of troops from the U.S., Britain, and Norway, along with 6,500 Finnish troops, are conducting these exercises. So I think they're doing stuff above the Arctic Circle specifically.
I want to go over to the chat real quick. We did this a year ago and about 6 months ago as well. We have Zenwa and Rebecca Snavely here. We have Android Architect Justin Williamson. And I'll actually pull this up. And let's see here. See if we can get this on here. And possibly move this around so it can be seen. Let's do a 1, 2, and 3 type thing here. And I'll try to make this so we can actually see it. Okay, and we have, how many do we have in chat right now? Just to get an idea. Dex?
About 2,900-ish.
Okay, so out of about 2,900, almost 3,000 in chat, let's, how soon do you think that NATO is officially going to be going against Russia? 1, you think that they're going to be soon this year? 2, you think it's longer than that? Or 3, you don't think that NATO is going to go to war with Russia? 1, 2, or 3? And basically 3 can be other, or 4 could be, some sort of other thing, and you could insert your own. Do you think that NATO will go to war this year, number 1? Do you think NATO it will be longer than a year, but it will happen, number 2? Or do you think that they will not go to war, number 3? Or 4, other, and you can insert whatever you'd like. Heartbroken Survivor, Sandy, L. Sanchez. By the way, thank you, Nana of Montana, and Mag, Candyland 55, and we have so many new names. It doesn't make sense sometimes. It's like there's a lot of new people, but it's how the platform works. Saharanthar, Tamara S., it's nice to see you again. Thank you for making it to so many shows. Let's see here. Mr. Chu, Richard Hunt, Blue Boy, Jane Doe, POV, Stacy K, Darren Schrader. Gosh, that's a lot of one. Goddess Thorn says it's longer than a year. Winston Smith, Mama Wolf, Callahan 50, Marvin Funtime, Mirror 504, everybody. Gosh. Even if you think, and you don't have to go along with everybody else, Oregon Prepping, tell me what you really think. 2023 before 2024, aka November latest. Ron Sipple says, one, distracting us with trans stuff. I agree. I mean, they always have something that triggers people to the point where it's so against the grain of what they believe that they're just going to be distracted completely. That's a really good point to make. Somebody said that they just refilled their gabapentin. If you have like medications and things like that, watch anybody in the prepper community. They will tell you need to do whatever you can figure out. If something did go down, would you have enough medications to actually go get through it? Would you have enough supplies to get through these things? Reverend Brian York, 2025. Well, of course, like, you know, somebody, what was it? China said, get ready by 2027. Why would they tell us when, right? I think about how fast time has been going. This is something that is, in my mind, an inevitability. And even if it was down the road in 2027, which a lot of the times they'll tell somebody that it's down the road so they are calm and they don't panic. I think it's really time for people to start, you know, taking this seriously. There's only so much that you can beat a dead horse. I mean, like, people need to get ready. Alex Conrad, believe we are already in conflict, just not physical. Alex Conrad, I think there's 4 different kinds of wars. There's an economic war, there's a hot war, physical war. Gosh, dang it. There is a trade war, and I'm forgetting the 4th. Dex, do you know what I'm talking about? There's 4 different wars, and we're in all 4. We're in 3 out of 4, and some believe that we've already started physical conflict because there's people perishing that are specialists over in UKR, and they're making up stories that they've gone AWOL.
Are you thinking like political, strategical, operational, and tactical?
No, that's for
Okay.
It was there's trade war. Economic would be the same, right? So a trade war. Oh, I guess cyber war? No. There's a famous piece, and then in the MIT, I could not believe that study. They take real stuff about all of the collapses of every, you know, from Rome to all of these different things. They've looked at all of the different places that have collapsed. But there's 4 different types of war. And we are in 3 out of 4, and some believe we are very, very close to that 4th. I'll find it, and I'll let you guys know. And then Shogu says Russian troops hit another Patriot missile system in Kiev in recent days. So they're essentially stating that they hit another system. I don't know if that's we don't know what's going on with this, but if that is true. Many in this community believe that Russia is actually completely winning, and that they are lying about who is winning here and who is really, doing really well. I am on the edge of, I think that they haven't even used their big stuff yet. I think that they used all of their crap first, and we haven't even seen the big conflict yet. And that's what I think these huge, huge trenches are for. Each one of those systems is $1 billion. So if they are, really saying that they took out another one or another part of it, that's not a good thing. And then Chinese jet carried out aggressive maneuver near the U.S. military plane. Dex, do you want to go over this? We have yet another close call with China. And
right, here we go again. So unnecessarily aggressive, as they're calling it. This is coming out of Washington. The Pentagon released this, saying a maneuver near a U.S. military plane over the South China Sea in international airspace. They said this on Tuesday today. So the military command responsible for the Indo-Pacific said that a Chinese J-16 aircraft carried out the maneuver last week and forced a U.S. RC-135 plane to fly through its wake turbulence. So I guess if you've, for those of you that may have seen like Top Gun, that's that famous scene in there where they go through the turbulence of another jet and it causes them to flat spin. It's not a safe thing to do, like to put another aircraft right in front of one in a way that causes them to pick up the turbulence from the plane in front. So definitely a unsafe, not professional way of handling. But at the same time, a lot of these fighter pilots, if you want to call them that, they do this kind of stuff. We've reported this numerous times. We've definitely talked about what the Russian pilots did, especially going and doing what they did to the drone, which ended up causing it to crash. We also had other instances where a plane almost crashed into the water and had to make an emergency landing. So I don't know if what we're seeing is more reporting of this because of the heated conflict that we have potentially between the U.S. and China, and obviously between the West and Russia, that we get these reports, and maybe this kind of stuff goes on more often than has been reported in the past, and they're just reporting it more now. Or is this actually happening more now? Because either way, it's because of the state of things. It's because we're not in peacetime. If this kind of stuff happened and everybody's happy and everything's good, they won't even talk about it, or it wouldn't happen. So again, this isn't a major event, but at the same time, it is a indicator. Look at it as an indicator of the change and what's happening between these two big countries, the U.S. and China. Talk about the fact that yesterday they denied our request to have a meeting with the head of the Pentagon and their head of military defense. Don't answer the phone anymore to talk to us, and everything is all about war rhetoric between the two countries. So things are not heading in the right direction.
No, they're not. And of course, even further into the wrong direction, Iran now claims to test hypersonic missile that can breach all defense shields. Well, they said about hypersonic that these things that all of them can do this, but this one is supposedly maneuverable. We can only guess where Iran actually got this from. I mean, obviously, Russia has given not only North Korea, but Iran several things lately. So I wouldn't put it past them to give them the technology for hypersonic. Problem is, Iran now is either close, has nuclear weapons, or is able to get them from one of their allies and possibly sneak it in. To get it on a hypersonic, Iran is crazy, and this is not good for any of the neighbors around them, especially for Israel. So this is something that is not good news. Joseph Newhouse, thank you for the super chat, says, I heard that CIA started this with Russia years ago. You mean like the whole thing or the conflict? Well, you can pretty much guarantee that part of that's right. I'm sure the CIA was involved in a lot of it. What was crazy is how much we covered that they said that the CIA, the head of the CIA traveled around not only before, but during all of this stuff that was going on. Dex, do you remember that? The head of the CIA kept visiting places, and within weeks, something crazy would go down there.
Correct. He made numerous trips to UKR.
Yeah. It's and then, of course, the BlackRock people ended up going. The CEO or the president of BlackRock went there too. It's there's so many things that it's you wish they would just tell you the truth on, and if you knew the truth, you'd probably be absolutely appalled. Why are they visiting and things like this? Neil Nelson, and then to have Zelensky go on a video and say, oh, we have such great companies like BlackRock that are supporting our conflict. to almost everybody. Even idiots know that that company is like the big evil corporation. It's kind of funny. They were like, what do you, yeah, oh, now you're more reputable because you have BlackRock funding you. What don't they fund? They literally own everything. They have a bigger GDP than every other country in the world besides China and Russia. They have a larger GDP than all of the other countries besides Russia and China combined. So you take USA at the top, China number 2, and then number 3 should be the third richest country, right? Well, BlackRock has more money than all of the GDPs of every single country combined in that one spot. Like, that's insane. That's way too much money for a corporation to have control of. Think about how much, and they own everything. They own every part, every working cog of our life since 2019. All of the Vanguards, the Rocks, and all of these other ones, they owned parts of all of these moving parts that were mandated, required, all of that. They owned parts of all of it. Every one of them, too. It didn't matter if you took, oh, well, I chose this one. I chose this one. Oh, there's 3 choices. So, well, I'm more of this guy. I'm more of that guy. They're all owned by the same people. It's kind of like watching two different news stations thinking that they're 2 different sides when they're owned by the same group. It's like, it's done. Neil Nelson, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super sticker, actually. And thank you for supporting Independent. Thank you, everybody that supports us. I really appreciate you. And thank you. It's been a long day. I appreciate the support. And before we move on, just real quick, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. We of course always have a really great deal on the 3-month, but I would highly recommend if you don't have anything, you can start small and you can get a 72-hour kit. That's really good for a go bag. Again, this is freeze-dried food that can last 25 years, and the price of freeze-dried food has tripled in the last 3 years. So simple math, if it even goes up double in the next 3 years, you will still, if you ended up purchasing this now, it's something where in 3 years from now, this could be literally double or triple or quadruple the price, and you'll still have 22 years left on the food that you bought 3 years prior at half or even a quarter of the price. That's why it's good to get this. Again, in 5 years from now, you'll still have 2 decades left. So this covers you until 2052. That's what's the great part about freeze-dried. On top of the longevity of the food, freeze-dried is really great compared to dehydrated because it actually saves a lot of the flavor as well. Dehydrated is a great way to do it too. If you don't have the funds to actually afford to be able to get everything you want this way, or if you want to kind of circumvent or kind of place your own kind of prep in here too, I'd highly recommend looking out on how to dehydrate things. This would also be a good option that you can do a whole lot cheaper. Freeze drying is very, very expensive. The machines can run into the thousands, but dehydrating is a lot of work. But if you do put the work in, you can do this without spending money, or at least spending a whole lot less money. So you can also look into that. We want to make sure that everybody is able to get prepared, whether you can afford to go through one of our affiliates or whether we can point you to a friend that can show you how to do it for a very low price. You'll have to put in a lot more work, but again, the result is the same, that you are prepared. I'd highly recommend, before doing a super chat or anything else, making sure to get yourself some food, get yourself something, make sure your supplies are good first, and then supporting YouTube channels like myself. Make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/prep, and you will, of course, get a huge discount, $200 off right now. That, again, is under $600. It's $597 after that discount, and that is the largest discount they have ever done. That is 3 months of food, so that breaks down. If it's 2 people, that's a month and a half for 2 people, a month for 3 people, or so on. So it's a great deal if you want to get multiple. If you want to get it just done and stowed away, it takes up very little space because it's all sealed and they take out all of the oxygen and water out of it. So it makes a very, very small package of a whole lot of food. marfooglenews.com/prep. Thank you guys for supporting. You don't have to use a code with that one. You just use the link, and that is the code. You will get $200 automatically off of the package. And then the IDF launches major drill focused on preparing for all-out multi-front war. Huh. I wonder why they're doing that. Dex, we are seeing drills globally. And now the IDF is now preparing for a multi-front war. Why do you think that is, Dex?
Well, we've only seen escalations left and right in the Middle East. But more specifically, the IDF, or specifically Israel, has said, hey, we're not going to allow Iran to create the nuclear capabilities that they're trying to aspire to, basically creating nuclear weapons. And they've said that they will take them out themselves if they have to, but they would expect to see, their allies like America go along with them and support of them. So this is a long drill. This is a 2-week drill. It's a multi-front. They're simulating a multi-front conflict. And this is, last time they did a big drill like this, their drill was specifically about taking out the sites and locations in Iran around their nuclear capabilities. I think the big challenge that we're seeing with the advancement coming out of that country is that everything has moved underground, and not just underground, but deep into the mountains, where some are even saying it's so deep that, our famous bunker busters can't even reach them. So it'll be interesting to see how, what specific things come out of this drill, if they are doing anything around that, because that's what they drilled last time. And if they're, or if this is just for some of the skirmishes that are going on around their country, coming in from, the sides that are, the borders that are right up against them, with some of that, conflict that tends to happen in that region. So we'll pay attention. This is definitely a hot area. We've talked about, obviously Europe's already there, Taiwan's on the brink, but a lot of times we don't pay attention to the Middle East, and we keep saying you have to, because there is this potential. And, we've got the ships that are coming out of through the Strait of Hormuz that are being taken by Iran. I know a lot of people are calling for the Western, allies to actually go in and take over that area to prevent that from happening now. So you've got a lot of things that are ramping up and escalating. And then we just talked about earlier that they tested the hypersonic. That would be the third country before America that puts hypersonics in production, assuming their tests are valid and they're going into production. So I'm certain that is looking at that and saying, hey, that's, yet again another key indicator of advancement that we don't want to see from this adversary. And so, when we look at them doing these big drills, preparing for, a multi-front conflict, it's because they expect it.
We're going to see more and more of these very, very specific drills when it gets closer. As for, there's a lot of folks that email me like, how long do you think we have? There's nobody is going to know when this is going to actually go down. But I mean, it's common sense. I mean, we saw right before CV that all of these things went into play. All of the drills happened. Everything happened right before. You can see what is being set up, and it's not just a regional thing. It's globally. You can see all of these different countries preparing for one thing, and that's a massive war. They do, you could say that they always do drills for readiness and things like this, but we have never seen globally on this kind of scale drills for such a specific thing. And it's because there's this very specific thing happening right now. The whole Russia and Ukraine, situation is, no matter who you believe, because everybody believes something different, they're calling it a special military operation. They're calling it an invasion. They say that they're going to go past it. There's a lot of evidence, even on Russia's side, that they are trying to get back the Baltic states and take all of this back. In that case, that would be one thing where we will actually jump in. I think that they're waiting for some massive event to happen, and then we all get put in, and through a massive war, they would be able to reset the entire system. Everything else is lining up too. The financial, that's why it seems like there's so many things happening all at once, because they are. The economy, the collapse of the dollar, the collapse, this whole, switching off of oil, this whole thing with the environment, everything that they're saying that they're going to change, all of the agendas are lining up in 2030. We have a 7-year countdown until this big change is going to happen. How do you think it's going to get there in that little time? Some would say, oh, well, they first said it was 2021. Well, I don't think things worked out like they wanted it to, but they would have probably already been there if in 2016 something different happened. Just a thought. They might have made a 2 or 3 path. Remember, there was years ago, remember that guy that said, oh, in 5 years, we're going to take out 7 countries. They did 6 of them. 6 of them actually did happen, and the last one was Iran. But Iran is now, basically on the very edge. If they make nukes, they're doing all this, they're defending. They've got bunkers full of thousands of missiles. They could take lives, and they will. I think that something massive is going on. Iran is like the one holdout, and I think that something in this system broke. And for us as civilians, we don't see at the very top, there is major change happening. They're going to change everything. And most of you already know this. You see the signs. You don't think it's crazy to think all of this because you're seeing what's actually happening. I'm trying to communicate this the best way I can because, as you guys know, if you talk to somebody who's not into this stuff, they either don't want to hear it, they don't understand it, or they think you're just way off on another level. They think that you're just totally out of it because they're not paying attention to any of it. You can give them example after example. You can show them what's happening. You can show them articles, and you can make a case, and you might actually get to them. But you have to sit there for 45 minutes showing 5-6 years of different things that have happened, and then they look at you like, oh, you're just connecting dots from all over the place. But really, it's because you've followed this for years and you see all of the steps happening. But how they see it is you're connecting wacky dots from all over the place. If you followed my show, then you know. We've looked at every piece 5 days a week for years. And 4 years ago, there's people that say, oh, you said that war was going to happen 4 or 5 years ago. And we were right. We showed you. We didn't say, oh, war is going to happen in a month. What we showed you is like Theresa May switching over from terrorism to now, oh, we're gonna focus on Russia and China. We showed you before mainstream media showed you that they were quietly transitioning over to Russia and China when Russia and China weren't even an issue on the docket. Nobody was even talking about this. There was, of course, very intelligent people or subsets or small groups talking about it. And, of course, there's the general thing that Russia and China are adversaries. But it really wasn't a big deal. In the independent sector, here and all of my peers, we've been talking about it for years. We knew this was coming. Now it's almost here. So this is like go time. This is when people really need to start paying attention. And if you didn't pay attention the last 5 years, you may not understand some of this, but I would put your faith in what your peers here are saying because they're not crazy. They know what they're talking about. Or at least most of them do. And then Marines are savagely beaten by 40 teens after confronting them for being unruly. This is the kind of kids that we have now. I am surprised. The first thing in my head thought was like, why didn't these 2 guys just take out all these kids? These are big kids. These are big teenagers, probably 17, 18, 19, probably also the kids that are 19, 20, 21 that are still hanging out with the high school kids on Smoker's Corner, bringing the kegs to the parties. It's probably those kind of guys, right? So these are grown men, but they basically jumped these guys right on Memorial Weekend too. There's video footage of this if you haven't seen it on Twitter already, but it says that the wild video shows moment of group of self-identified U.S. Marines were savagely beaten by as many as 40 teenagers after the service members confronted them about unruly behavior on a California beach. The victims said that they were simply walking along the beach in San Clemente, California, when they were attacked by a massive mob of teenagers about 10 p.m. Friday night. Frightening video posted online showing 2 victims curled up in fetal position on the ground as the crowd continued to kick them, hurling profanities and racial slurs. A third Marine was also attacked but not shown in the footage. The Maine sustained minor injuries and refused to be transported to a local hospital in the aftermath. If you see the video, they're curled up next to each other in fetal position. I saw somebody give them crap. If it's like 2 on 40, I'm sorry, you're trying to protect your vital organs and protect yourself. I don't think they had much of a chance, but I will say this. There was some scrawny kids there. I hope, and I didn't see it in footage, I hope they got at least 2 or 3 of them knocked out. That's what I would have tried to do. I would have tried to knock out the small ones first and then use one of them to try to get out. But I think any one of us would have probably been in the same position given that many, big kids. These are teenagers. These are 17, 18, 19-year-olds. Dex, you saw the video, right?
Oh, yeah. And there is an update that was just released from the San Clemente mayor that says they've actually now got 9 teams charged with these beatings. So I think 5 have been charged with felony assault with a deadly weapon. 4 misdemeanors is the current stat. So at least they were able to identify and find some of these guys or these kids. Now the story was the Marines were walking along the beach with lots of other people, and these kids were shooting fireworks, and the fireworks hit them and hit other people, and they were being kind of unruly about it. So they confronted them and said, "Hey, can you stop shooting the fireworks?" And that's when it escalated from there. You can only imagine how these teenagers probably did not like somebody else telling them what to do, but not an excuse at all, and definitely not the type of behavior you'd expect from anyone to service members. Not that they were in uniform and you would have known that given the situation, but still, nonetheless, what a horrible thing to happen, especially on Memorial Day weekend.
Well, I've been seeing so many more images and videos of 40, 50, 60 of these kids in groups, and they start smashing cars for no reason. These are the same kids that watch TikTok and see people throwing jugs of milk on the floor or lighting off fireworks in a grocery store just for a couple of clicks and a couple of likes on TikTok. These are the same people that walk into a KFC and walk behind the counter and just steal platters of food just so they can get a couple views on TikTok. Like this generation, and I hate to sound like an 80-year-old, but this generation is being raised by social media platforms of essentially the worst idiots go to the very top and are shown to the most people. Same with this one as well. They put that out as their mentors. These are the people they're looking up to. They see people with huge success doing these stupid things and they go, "Oh, we should too." As far as this goes, these are pieces of crap, and because they're first-timers, I bet you none of them will even serve a day in juvie. They'll probably not even get charges. I hope they grow up, because all of us when we were that age did stupid stuff. But that's just, there's part of that is blamed probably. There's got to be some bad parenting in some of that, because other kids, which kids didn't go, "Hey, stop doing this"? They're in fetal position, leave them alone. Like, that's just not the culture anymore. And then we have AI poses extinction risk, expert says. It says global leaders should be working to reduce the risk of extinction from artificial intelligence technology, a group of industry chiefs and experts warned on Tuesday. A one-line statement signed by dozens of specialists, including Sam Altman, whose firm OpenAI created the ChatGPT bot, said that tackling the risks from AI should be a global priority alongside the other societal scale risks, such as pandemics and nuclear war. ChatGPT burst into the spotlight late last year, demonstrating an ability to generate essays, poems, and conversations from the briefest of prompts and sparking billions of dollars of investment into the field. Now, you may have heard about how many users happened in this thing. Dex, it went from 0 users to like what, 100 bill? It was 100 million users in the first month. Isn't that right? I feel like it's a huge number. And
they're up to 100 million. Yes,
100 million in the first month. It might have even been in the first few days. Think about that. If that was any service, I mean, how many users does Netflix have? I mean, think about any service that has literally 100 million users. I guess YouTube has 2 billion users on it. But think about that. YouTube's been around for years and years and years, and a majority of those are probably people over the years at one point opening up an account. I cannot imagine that. That is insane. That is so many people adapting to it right away and excited for this and using it. 100 million people. That is so insane for any kind of product to have that kind of response and that many people using it just like that. Our whole planet is about to change, and like I said over the last week, there's a little part of me, and I'm not saying I want it, that kind of wishes that things would get, turned off for a while so we could go back to the days before it. I don't know. I am beginning to think that we were better off before cell phones, social media, and everything else, including that includes me doing what I do. I wish it was on a stage in a pulpit or on the street corner at this point. Dex, go ahead.
That stat of 100 million was a 3-month period. And not only that, the website generated 1.8 billion visitors per month. And to put that in perspective, Instagram, it took 2.5 months to reach 1 million downloads, and Netflix had to wait 3.5 years to reach 1 million users.
Wait. It took how long?
Imagine that.
It took how long to reach what?
Instagram, it took 2.5 months to reach 1 million downloads compared to the 100 million users in 3 months on ChatGPT. Netflix waited 3.5 years to reach 1 million users.
Wow.
Again, ChatGPT to 100 million in 3 months. And 1.8 billion visitors a month to the page.
That is so absolutely insane. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Mystery School, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Mystery, it's been a while. Thank you so much. I have not, and sometimes I miss the names because they go by too fast. But I haven't seen you in a minute, so thank you so much for stopping by. Teresa G, thank you as well for the super sticker. By the way, I feel like that little design that you just put on there. My 7-year-old loves. She has 3 different sweatshirts with a character that just looks just like that, and they're like her favorite sweaters. Thank you so much, and Stephanie Cook, thank you. Nana of Montana, Bible Talk 777. Hope you're doing good. Danish Girl, hope you are doing well. Liz Potter, Celtic Warrior, and Lisa Douglas, Catherine Wilson, Jeff Crawford, Kay Parker Fraser, and thank you everybody that has helped support us this week. We have so much awesome stuff, and we took a day off last week. I know you guys actually, I believe we took 2 days off. Yeah. I did end up doing videos on one of those days, but we are definitely going to push more on making some more shorts and things like this and trying to get them out there. It has been bringing in a lot of new people. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. Those are new people from those shorts. Now, I would love to hear you guys. Now, main part of anybody who's on YouTube, they want to reach more people. What is your opinions on if we did stuff on all platforms, like every single one of them, including doing shorts and then copying and pasting them and putting them somewhere like TikTok? I really want to get your opinions on this. How many people would be against that? Do you think there's an argument for doing it? I've always been sort of against TikTok, but everyone I've talked to says that they have reached new people and pulled them from TikTok to somewhere else. I want to just get your honest opinion on it. I probably won't listen to it anyways if people said no, but I have thought about putting up videos and seeing how it would do. So let me know what you think. It probably would be hypocritical in a way, but we need to reach more people, and we need to bring more people in. Mainly, I think we need to get more youthful people and educate youthful people. And unfortunately, there's no youthful people on Facebook. There's no youthful people anywhere. All of the platforms have downsides. All of them are run by horrible people. So it's just a thought. I would love to get, you guys are a part of this. You guys are a part of the family. So I would like to get your feedback on that, even comment afterwards. I would like to know how we can try to help. And I think if people were getting this kind of information, if more young people were watching stuff like this, they wouldn't be so brainwashed. And, you know, it's kind of like you got to go where they are. I know there's plenty of my peers that are already doing it. They're already on it. And I don't judge them for that. I just feel like at this point, it's getting tough to reach new people. So what do you guys think? Give me your opinion. Tell me what you think. I'd love your feedback on that. And let's see here. A new trove of Jeffrey EpiPen's files. But just to go back on that for a second, I think that I'm like really shocked at how young people think. Even my 17-year-old daughter, how they think. Her friends, when we went camping, all of her friends, when it was like a general question, it was just joking around, everybody was saying, and somebody mentioned on the radio conservative and Republican, and they said, oh, well, conservative and Republicans are racist. That's just what they've been taught at this point. I think that's absolutely terrifying, and I think that something has to be done about who's educating kids on this kind of stuff. And it's not the parents. The parents are putting devices in front of, and you may too, if you do it the right way, it's not a bad thing, but there are some that literally just let the devices raise their kids now. It's hard to think of from where we came from when we didn't have them when we were kids. At worst, the TV was raising you, and the TV was pretty calm, and, you know, there was a lot of rules. They wouldn't show certain things. People were constantly complaining if you even, I mean, at one point you showed a belly button on TV, you got in trouble. Now, with the internet, there is really no filters, even in the kids' versions of things. It shows you nasty, disturbing things. So you really have to be a hound about watching what your kids are watching. Do you think that social media has ruined this next generation? Give me your honest opinion in the comments down below. See things like these Marines getting beat up, but at the same time, they didn't know they were Marines. Maybe there's a story we don't know about. Everybody jumps to conclusions. Maybe they were aggressive, but from the video I seen, it didn't look like it. Dex, go ahead.
I was just going to remind people, you know, all those shorts that we've been doing, even though you watch this show, you probably look at that short and go, I already know it because I watched the main show. Do us a favor, take that short and share it, because that's what'll help bring new people in and let people know about the Fugel fam and the Mafia, and hopefully wake more people up to what's going on. So those shorts, you know, while we do that, we put those together every day, or try to put them together every day. It's a great way to share, a great thing to share. So I know everyone who's listening to this right now has probably already heard what's in the short because it's coming from the show, but share it out. Share it to your friends and family.
And it can take an hour or an hour plus to make a 60-second clip, because you're putting together stuff from multiple parts of a show. So there's a lot of work that goes into such a tiny amount of time, but those are the most efficient. It's the most efficient use of people's time. If in 60 seconds you can give them information that they didn't have prior, then that's great. Anyways, thank you guys for being understanding. Thank you guys for backing us up no matter what. That's what it is to be independent. Like, we have to literally, we have to try, we have to like march through this just craziness for years on end, and things are constantly changing around us, and things are constantly holding us back. So thank you guys. Dex, do you want to talk about the new trove of EpiPen's files? Reveals a network of power. Who wouldn't have saw that one coming?
Yeah, we keep reporting. We get like little bits and pieces, and this is all coming out of the U.S. Virgin Islands because there's a court case that's happening there The government is suing JP Chase Morgan around that. And, we've talked about the different folks they've been trying to subpoena, et cetera, including Elon and others, right? Especially those that wouldn't accept the service. But what's also coming out of that is as different pieces of evidence get brought forward, some of that's getting released. And in this case, there's new documents that are coming out, and probably a little bit more of the calendar information that we spoke about in the past. But there's a lot of names that are getting thrown out. So, of course, you've got the Gilly Bates stuff that we've already talked about. But now we've mentioned Peter Thiel before, but we've got, names like Peter Thiel, Sean Parker, Jeff Koons, Jamie Dimon, who was already in the lawsuit specifically, or at least being subpoenaed into it, Tommy Mottola, as well as others like Chris Rock, Richard Branson, and Irina Shayk. So a lot of these new names are coming out, and a lot of them were just people that were supposed to meet with him, or were on a schedule, or were on a calendar to meet with him, or other pieces of information that are coming out in this. So, nothing super, no secrets were being revealed other than these names that are coming to light, that are being, associated with them. Now, man, if you're one of these names and your association is innocent, you're probably like really hating life right now to have your name associated with them. But if you're one of these people and your name is associated with them, and because maybe you did things with him all the time, then, maybe you need to go into hiding, because a lot of people are going to be looking your way.
I don't think so. I think this is also part of, why does this come? When this stuff comes out, why does it come out, and why is it the timing that it comes out? I don't know if any of these people could be innocent. Even Chris Rock. There's so many names in Hollywood that I used to like and now no longer can like or will like because of what they do, and it sucks. I guess I could still watch a movie because technically they're pretending to be somebody else in this movie, but the real life version of them is just a horrible person. There's so many people that are just absolute zombies in real life, like John Cena begging apology, just groveling to China, and his only crime was that he claimed that Taiwan was a country. Like, that was horrid. I'm sure many wrestling fans were just absolutely appalled by that. Same with the The and other wrestlers. I wasn't even a wrestling fan, but I mean, for stuff like that, it's like The Rock and LeBron James. I just heard something. There was a trivia thing that says he's been playing for 17 years. That's just nuts that he's been. I remember when he was a rookie. It's been so long. We're getting so old. But 17, he ended up appeasing to China and bowing the knee. There's so many people that have basically given up any kind of dignity to bow down to a paycheck. It's really sad. And if they're not, then they're completely brainwashed, or they're people on a list like this that have gone to horrible islands and done horrible things. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then thank you. Fate favors the prepared Dean. Thank you. Hey, thank you for the massive support. I appreciate that. Signing with the birds. That's awesome. Is that supposed to be singing with the birds or signing with the birds? That's funny. Oh, I get it. Like signing. And by the way, some of you may think like that. A woman called with 1.2 million followers on TikTok, that it did kind of trigger something, because somebody emailed me and it was a peer of mine, and they basically said, if you look at it this way, if you do end up, what do you call it, spreading out to other platforms like that, you are grabbing people from that platform and you're essentially grabbing the attention of an entirely different group of people. And I guess they basically made a point to me that the main point is you're getting your information out to new people. And whether that be on a street that a horrible person owns and you're on that street corner, yelling with the megaphone in a horrible area, or say you're You're on the corner of the JP Morgan office. It's owned by a horrible person, but you're there trying to reach the people at JP Morgan or wherever it be. I don't know. I guess the way they put it was a pretty good argument for why to try to reach new people. So I don't know. It's hard for me to think about that. I see it as one big propaganda network. I see the lives that they're doing, and it's hard for me to even listen to 2 seconds of people saying that Christians are supremacists and things like this. Like, it's all over. I understand that there's people that have peaceful and lovely stuff like the music, but it's just crazy. Dex, let's go over the web only. We got a lot of stuff. And remember to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends, where you can find all of our mods, including Bones, Chance, Paladin, of course, CJ Blaze, Jammer1, Lisar Hall, Rip Curl Readiness, RJL Harris, Ilea, Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho Kermit the Frog here, and of course, Wages World. I know that Wages World wanted to let folks know he's got a lot going on, but he is a great creator, and he's been trying to put out videos as he can. If you knew Wages off camera, he's always caring about somebody else. He's always trying to help people out. I think he even over volunteers his time because he's got such a big heart, and then he doesn't have time for anything himself. So make sure to pray for Wages World. Make sure also send positive vibes and prayers to Ilea. She is awesome, and she's taking care of not only her family, but all sorts of animals. She's a very loving person. And then Trinity as well has been going through a lot lately. All of the mods have, of course, they're humans, so they probably have something going on. Pray for everybody on this list, including all of our friends. So they definitely deserve it. They're all great people, and that's why they're on these lists in the first place. All right, Dex, let's go over the web only. Lots of crazy stuff down here.
There certainly is. Head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here. This page has all the news we just covered, which there was a lot. We went through quite a bit today, but we even have more, and that's the overflow section. So when you get to that yellow bar, you'll get the rest of the story. Lots of other things happening in the space. So apparently on the speaking of TikTok, it's been reported that the financial info, social security numbers, and other information about the creators has actually been stored in China. Even though it wasn't supposed to be stored there, it's supposed to be stored in America, they've actually found that data has been stored over there. So that's insightful. Take that for what it's worth. State Department seeks to expand its space diplomacy efforts. So this is hot on the heels of what we talked about yesterday, where the Space Command said, hey, we're ready to deal with conflict in space. Well, the State Department is now also saying they're going to expand for diplomacy in space. Some updates on the AI kind of go hand in hand with the conversation we had earlier. Look, it's not just the Marines, but apparently over the weekend, it was a little crazy in Vegas too. So there were multiple brawls that took place. Really, things are just not looking good for people actually being civil. And these are places that you expect to like go have fun and party, but not have continuous knockdown, drag out brawls in the public places. So, hey, we do have a little bit of the updates in the political side. What's happening there. A little bit about what's going on with the debt ceiling. That date is coming up next week. Hopefully they'll get through this process of approving. If they don't, God only knows where we'll be with the negotiations. Chick-fil-A is facing some backlash. There's been updates with Bud Light. They're down now 30%. And then if you're in California, there's a new law that is going to prevent you from using grazing goats to prevent wildfires. Yeah, no kidding. That's a new law going into place. You're not allowed to do that anymore. Stuff going on around the world. Definitely some updates with tankers being seized. We talked about that, and I mentioned it earlier about the U.S. is now being pressured to actually solve that problem and take over and control some of that area in the Persian Gulf because of all the oil tankers that go through there. And a lot of it comes to us, and a lot of it are companies that are allied with the U.S. There's updates with what's been going on with El Salvador and the prisons there, kind of a big deal. The U-Haul truck, if you remember that, we reported on it, that went into the White House the other day. They've got some updates around that person, specifically what the prosecutors have released from the court case and what he's being charged with. We've got updates around UKR, lots of other, little bits and pieces that have been happening there, with what's going on with Putin, what's going on with the missiles, and Poland and others. So all of that is there as well. We do have a few things going on with China and Taiwan. You can find that there as well, including the chip conflict that's going on. And they actually think that they found Intel chips in a homegrown chip that was sort of rebadged. So is that stolen, or is that Intel like licensing something that they shouldn't be? We'll have to see what comes of that. I'm thinking it's probably more of a copycat, because they're very good at doing that. So that and so much more, it's all there on the website. If you go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show. We do it every night. It goes hand in hand with all of the content we just talked about. If you're looking for the rest of the story, that's where it is. It's down below in the description. All the links are available down below in the description. So if you're ever looking for them, they're there. Just open it up. It's the show notes link. It'll take you to this page.
And by the way, so how worried should the world be of Xi's new CV wave? They have made it look really bad. The XBB or something, I forget what it's called, but I would not put it past. Everybody is looking one direction. If there was some sort of 2.0 that came just out of nowhere, and they saw how fast during the first one. Obviously, they found out later it wasn't as harmful, and only 0.1% of us would be affected by it, and 99.9% of us were safe. All of this stuff came out after, and it was all the stuff that everybody, all of my peers, and everybody was saying from the very beginning ended up being right, yet it was disinfo. With this new one, I would watch out, because if it is, there was just that predictive tabletop exercise that happened. Very freaky stuff. So pay attention to that. We'll be talking about that in the near future, I assume, because of everything that's happening over there. As far as someone said, yeah, after that, why would you do the TikTok? If I would say, so this is the thing with that. They're doing the social security numbers of people that are doing financial stuff with TikTok. If we did do it, we would not connect with that at all. I've always told people, if you do it, have a second device and have it through a VPN and have it not connected to that stuff. They are giving their social security numbers because they're getting paid by TikTok. I would not do any kind of financial thing with TikTok. It would be uploading, content there to put there, and hopefully it doesn't get knocked off. But it would not be for whatever money they get paid there. But as a personal piece of advice, if you do have your stuff over there, and if you are earning money like that woman the other day, she says she can get paid, $10 one day or $60 the next, depending on what her stuff is and how they're working it. I would say be very, very careful. They're not only doing keystroke logging, they're doing social security numbers and storing them in China now. Like, that's insane. They most likely have all of our youth's information there, all of it. Even if, I bet you they could give somebody who's not a big TikToker, somebody who has 10 followers, and then say, hey, you could earn a penny on your video, and then have them sign up with their financial info, and then get all of that information taken. Not to mention, if that app can hack into your phone, think about your phone has a thumbprint and fingerprint sensor, or most do. Mine doesn't. My current one doesn't. They have... what do you call it? Iris scans. They have facial recognition. All of this stuff that they built into our phones, it's very clear that this is all part of a long-term thing. And then they got it to where we wanted that, where we would pay extra money to upgrade the one with the fingerprint sensor and the iris scanner and all of this crap. I mean, it's stupid. And as a whole, as humanity, we were like, yeah, this is a great idea. It's great because only I can open my phone. I don't see what was wrong with just the code that you remembered. But again, otherwise, if before, when I was a kid, the only way they would have your fingerprints is if you committed a crime. But nope. And I swear we covered something where they could potentially pull your DNA from your fingerprints or something like that, that there was a way that you could touch something, even a digital form, and it would be able to put together some sort of profile on what you were. That's a scary thought. All right, and then, yeah, we'll cover the XRB or whatever that wave is. But if it was going to happen, I thought it was going to happen months ago in January when right after that exercise happened. Well, thank you, Dex, and thank you to the mods. Appreciate you guys. And thank you, Skyhouse, Poco Loco, Yobi, Kiki Gray. Thank you for the diamond over on D-Live. Thank you, Chance. Thank you for the lemons, and thank you for modding. And then, of course, thank you, Kimbria. Thank you, Jammer. And, of course, thank you, Dex. Thank you for all your services tonight.
Absolutely. Much love, brother. Great job.
All right, it is now time for the outro. It's not a shoutro. It's not an outro. Wait, no, it is a shoutro. It's not an outro. Wait. It's not a shout out. It's not an outro. It's a shoutro.
I say everybody gonna go underground now. I say everybody gonna go underground. I say everybody gonna go underground now. I say everybody gonna go underground.
I say everybody gonna go underground now. I say everybody gonna go underground. I say everybody gonna go underground.
Fate favors the prepared Dean. Thank you so much. Fate favors the prepared Dean. You are the top supported tonight. Appreciate all of you. And thank you to all the mods. Make sure to drop an M in the chat for the mods.